I said it before, the circle style. So no, not a single person heard it. I understand what you said. Fine. I'm not saying I understand. Oh, really? Hello, everybody. You can see us over there. We're in.
We are in.
Okay, great. In there, like somewhere. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Black Multiverse Theory podcast. We are here in our studio, ready for another week of Who Survived the Rapture. Oh, sorry. Another week of Is This the Apocalypse or What? Welcome to another week of
We're trying to figure out what's happening.
What's happening? Oh my goodness. How was your last week?
Last week was pretty good.
What do you have going on?
We had lots of talks about vaccination last week.
Mm-hmm. But what was happening in your personal life? I want to talk about that in the scroll. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, again, last week there was a lot of talk about vaccinations last week. Because as everybody knows, in October I will be going for surgery. And so the question is, do I need to vaccinate before going in for surgery? What we're doing now? Do I have to have both vaccinations before? What's the scenario? Also last week I went to the movies with the children, which was fun, but that is on the screen. So my last week was full of work and play.
Okay, excellent. The Kaleidoscope, I think, was like the whole week before, right? So that wasn't this last weekend.
The Kaleido Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Kaleido Festival was
the weekend before. Yeah, we talked about that.
So after that, I really didn't do a lot other than work. Trying to get things wrapped up before next month.
For me, mostly really just getting ready for the market this weekend. Those of you who frequent Aphrodisiac and buy Aphrodisiac products will know we have been having a hard time keeping things in stock. So it's like literally as soon as I'm not even doing one batch anymore. I'm doing 2 batches at a time. And we're like, by the time we send out the text message that says that the new batch is finished, we pretty much sell like 3/4 of that batch immediately. So,
get it while it's hot. It's golden cream.
It is, yes, but also it is a constant production schedule. So, it's been like sorting that stuff out. Pretty much getting ready for 2 things. Getting ready for the very last Saturday market. This is school days. We're doing back to school theme. So,
and one thing that a lot of people haven't seen on the ads for it is there will be karaoke. So come with a song prepared. And those of you who want to sing in public, let's go do it.
Okay.
It's gonna be great.
All right. I wanted to say about that Bert said maybe so about karaoke.
Oh, why?
Because of the restrictions.
Okay.
But you were on the call, so maybe we'll sort it. What you going to say? So, say it in front of the people in mixed company.
It's weird. It's weird that nobody said anything before. It's also weird because I've already talked about the mic coverings. And there's no band going to be up there. It's only going to be one person.
Right.
So it's
yeah, it's just we have to connect on that. That's all.
It's all. Just talking.
No.
So, on to the scroll, right?
Yeah, we're moving right on to the scroll.
Moving it on. All right, on the scroll, we have local scroll. We have the election just happened.
Yes.
My mom is very excited because the Liberals
The federal election.
have won the minority seats.
Your mom
Really.
and also many Caribbean older parents who Justin Trudeau is still riding on the coattails of what his dad has done.
For them, yeah. Yeah, my mom was like, I voted for him because his father did this.
When I was listening to your mom, I was like, my dad would have voted for him too. Because my dad has like Pierre. I'm like, what? Why does he like this guy so much? But Caribbean people really like Pierre Elliott Trudeau. I have been reading a book called Policing Black Canadians by Robin Maynard.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been very heavy, but also extremely a lot of information about the ways in which the state of Canada, in terms of the state meaning the government mostly, polices not only Black Canadians but our Indigenous folks as well. And they go through every systemic racism. She goes through really every system, including the child welfare system, including the prison, including immigration, which we'll come up to. And when she's talking about immigration, she was talking about really specific policies against Black immigrants, which Canada had for a lot of years, up until Pierre Elliott Trudeau was like, okay, we'll take some domestics from the Caribbean. And then our parents got to hear it. Right?
It took a lot.
Nurses and domestics, yeah.
It took a lot of people came in. My dad being a person who used to house a lot of immigrant people. Hey, Greg, what's happening? So, which was funny because that was a lot of discussion as of late as my mom and my dad would argue, because there used to be a guy in our basement. If you come home, there would be a guy with my dad. And
Dad's like, he lives here in
he
this
lives
country
in the
now.
basement for a little bit, until he gets on his feet. And because of Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
But his son now
Justin Trudeau.
hasn't done any of that stuff.
None of that stuff.
But
Justin Trudeau,
like,
he's a neoliberal. He talks in vagueness and generalities. He says sorry all the time without really doing anything about the things that he's sorry about. He acknowledges things in words and then nothing at all in deed. So he's king, non-accountable.
He does have a lot of people who voted for him this time, they voted for him because of the work that he did during COVID.
And I do have to say he didn't leave us stranded in COVID.
He didn't leave anybody stranded. He made sure everybody got what they had to do. But
from what I hear, that was Jack
But now,
from what I understand, that wasn't him at all.
That was me.
That was me. I'm the one who did that.
All right, Jay. All right.
Okay. I didn't realize. And Jack B came hard. I think he probably spent more money, or the algorithm. So just like, here, waste your vote on this guy. I think the NDP's got 20-something seats, 25 seats, which made me like, okay, my political stance is like not in the ring at all. Like the part where we like look out for each other, reform these laws.
What party is that? It says 29 seats is a lot of seats. That's good.
Yeah, is it 20? Is it? It's like 170 to like be in charge, right?
Right. So normally it's like 170, and then the other crew is like the direct opposition. So to 29. So the direct opposition is going to be Liberals, and Tories.
Oh.
Right, which is the UCPs.
Okay.
Right, and then you have the UCP, and then you have NDP snuck their way in there. I was like, we're in here too.
Yeah. Oh, are they in there? Because the UCP is like 120 or something, right?
So there's, as long as they have seats, they're right there.
Oh, they just get to go and say stuff, but they like none of their votes are like gonna make things happen.
They get to say the stuff that changes people's minds. And what ends up happening is people walk the floor, right? Mm-hmm. So what happened when we had the Wild Rose Party, which was a great party, by the way. I never really voted for them, but they were a party from Alberta. They go federal? Well, it's like that. So what happened is that a lot of them walked over,
Gotcha.
and they walked over to they were like, we don't even like what's going on. So they went over to the other side. And so that's why you want seats, because you want to be able to say what you got to say. You want people to say, here. And when they say that, and if you make really good points, you can actually turn people from their party that they're in onto your and they'll walk across the field.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that 20-something seats will be 100 in 4 years. Let's see. I think it was like 15 last time. So, to be honest with you, the fact that NDP is gaining seats is all that I need to happen.
You change your name to Haitain.
And as...
It's over here.
Yeah, sure. I'm like, yeah, no, but it's definitely a throwaway vote. It's like 25 seats.
Jack Beat,
I don't know what that controls.
I don't know if you saw Jack Beat's TikTok, but it was fire.
I mean, Jack Beat on socials was killing it because I didn't see Aaron O'Toole at all. I literally figured out it was Aaron O'Toole right now when Greg said Trudeau and O'Toole. And I was like, oh, he spells his name the girl way. Like that's what I thought, you know?
NDP had a slander slogan against O'Toole. So they had O'Toole's picture on a lawn, one of those lawn signs.
Oh.
And they're like, O'Toole is trying to do this, and then they're using the sprinkler to wash the O'Toole, and it's washing him into
Jack Beat?
No, into our boy there,
Trump?
No, who makes the decisions here? Kenny.
Oh.
And they're like, we see right through you. We see right through you.
But okay, things that I've learned by reading is that Jason Kinney, now please you guys, I want you to understand that I was not in this country for a long time. And although you guys, I love politics, Canadian politics is really the most boring of all of the politics pretty much. In Italy, they'd be fighting each other and cussing each other out. There's places where they're literally like wrestling each other.
I guess it's British. British is pretty dry.
It's also dry.
Nah.
So what I found out by reading is that Jason Kinney was Canada's immigration minister. And as Canada's immigration minister for whatever that time under whoever that person was.
You did a lot of reading, huh?
Sorry, you guys. It was mostly about Kinney and immigration. He did a lot of really bad things. Like, I feel like the immigrant population should not be supporting this guy from his, and it's just so, like, it makes Casey Badu just even more mind-blowing because Jason Kinney undermined immigration and most of his policies were anti-black, and he did like a lot of weird things like organizing a fake immigration ceremony and inviting the news media instead of having them go to one of the 13 immigration ceremonies that were actually happening that day. There's like an immigration medical bill, so like if you're an immigrant and let's say you don't have like your PR, because there are people who are here who are refugee status, they don't have a PR. Canada's like really terrible to people generally, but he made it so that they can't get any medical help or go to the hospital or go to the doctor or anything. And even though these people working and paying taxes, they get absolutely no social services and aren't afforded anything under the law. There's a bunch of other things he did as immigration minister that I'm like, I didn't know he was immigration minister before, and I cannot believe, but I can believe. But just when I think about Casey Badu amongst the whole thing, I'm like, wait, do you guys know that this is the guy hacking immigration? Or, like,
he does know. Because it's a payment.
Mm-hmm.
And Katie comes in and is like, hey, why don't you be this person? It's just another accolade and dollar sign on your thing.
Yeah.
I could give you stories of Kenny and his foolishness. Under him, it took 10 years for me to get my recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, Greg.
There's been a lot of, like, Canada's immigration policy is very, very violent and very, very racist.
And then Greg followed her to Alberta.
Greg, why did you follow her?
What did you do, Greg?
Yeah, so I guess, wow, like all those things. So once again, that book that I'm reading, you guys, just in case you care, honestly, it's called Policing Black Canadians by Robin Maynard. I think like 89% done now, almost finished. So
you can borrow the book when she's done.
No.
It's on me.
Sorry, it is 2021. But you can be a part of my family or my household, and then we can share books. Hit me up if you want to do that. But I'll be buying it for the shop. I had given my copy to Sanaya. I actually do have a copy, but I had given it to Sanaya a while ago because she's like very pro-police. And I was like, okay, you can be pro-police, you can be a cop. Just read this book first. And she decided not to be a cop, and she didn't read the book either. So I guess it worked out.
Darren, what's up, my man? Darren, my homeboy.
Greg said he came when NDP was in charge.
Yeah, Rachel.
Remember? Yeah. They really, wow, sexism. In any case, I came here when NDP was in charge too. It was towards the end.
Yeah,
it's like, who's really, this Notley lady, and why do they hate her so much?
But we've had Jan Reimer, we've had Notley.
Yeah, but
we've had a couple.
They're very vicious against women, like particularly.
Yeah, and most of the women that are in power, that come in power, have to be very hard, very vicious.
And they're all blonde. They have to do that while being blonde.
They are all blonde. I don't remember what. I don't remember what, except for maybe the Wild Rose Party lady. What's her name again?
Was she in charge ever? Like in charge? No. Even Kim Campbell was blonde. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of the women who held the highest seats in Canada are all blonde.
Yeah, right.
The land of Canada. All right, moving along.
Speaking of Jason Kennedy.
Okay, and also speaking of Jason Kennedy.
We have new restrictions that came in down the pipe for us Albertans here in the old Alberta. First of all, Justin Trudeau, just before the election, announced that he would provide to Albertans anything we needed. And he said anything to help us.
LOL. Look at Darren making funny. Darren, you and how many people are? 4 people on here right now may vote for me. I can assume that I can get Nigel's vote, and I may vote for myself, depending on who is also running at the same time. So I don't think so.
That assumption is, you are assuming a lot. I need to hear where you stand. Ma'am, I need to hear, what are you going to do about reform? What are you going to do?
We got to y'all, we got to flip this whole thing over. Greg's trying to be my campaign manager. I might win if I listen to you, to be honest with you.
Greg knows the YT proposition.
It's the if I listen to you part. You want me to say what? To who? Who is it? Why?
So,
yeah.
The restrictions. Let's start with gathering restrictions. Let's start. Because I got to give you the restrictions that are...
As they read. Okay. Here's the thing. So you have to provide a COVID test before you go to a place, but you cannot get a COVID test unless you're showing symptoms, but you cannot go to the place if you're showing symptoms.
For the people who want to know what their restrictions are.
Got it.
Businesses are indoor facilities.
Okay.
Then this is as of September 20th, the last week after the podcast. Of course, Jason can release it.
He likes to do the stuff while we're here.
There
might be new stuff as we're speaking.
Indoor facilities that do not implement the restrictions exemption program must follow these restrictions.
Here it goes.
So if you do not follow the restriction exemption, you have to
You
follow the
must.
restrictions.
Right.
You have to have a capacity of 1/3 fire code.
Check.
Attendees must be with household members only or 2 close contacts if they live alone.
Other than people with attendees. Wait.
Attendees must be with household members only
Like always sitting with?
or 2 close contacts if they live alone.
So I can house a third of my, so it's about 100 people, but they all have to be related.
Yes.
Got it.
Or 2 close contacts. So they have to be
Related or like,
close.
okay,
Yeah. They have to be like a girlfriend boyfriend situation,
roommates.
roommate situation,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
Outdoor entertainment, event, and recreations facilities.
Mm-hmm.
This is as of September 16th.
Okay.
Events and facilities that are fully outdoors excludes washrooms,
Mm-hmm.
have no capacity restrictions, but must maintain 2 meters distance between household or 2 close contact to those living.
Okay.
Okay. Restaurants, cafes, and bars. Indoor dining is not permitted. Outdoor dining only with a maximum of 6 people per table.
Oh, you can't eat inside at all?
Mm-mm.
This is if you don't require your guests to get.
This is if you're not part of the restrictions exemption program.
Okay, these are restrictions. Okay, so they made them unreasonable. Got it.
Outdoor dining only with a maximum of 6 people per table
Mm-hmm.
or people of close contact
Okay.
of household. Liquor sales and consumption restrictions apply.
Okay.
So sales must end at 10 p.m. and consumption by 11 p.m.
Okay.
So there's a restriction there. Now, for those of you who don't know about because I'm talking about the restrictions exemption program, let me tell you about that. So starting September 20th, in scope, businesses, entities, and events must follow one of these 2 options. Implement the restrictions exemption program requiring proof of vaccination or negative test result, plus mandatory masking to continue operating as usual. And then number 2, comply with public health restrictions as outlined in Order 42-2021. Does anybody know what Order dash thing is? Anybody? So Order dash. Let me see how.
Order 42-2021.
Order dash 20. Yes. Whereas I, Dr. D. Mitchell, Chief Medical Officer, have initiated an investigation into the existence of COVID-19 within the province of Alberta. Okay. Whereas. Oh wow. Sorry. You're not going to finish this. This is an 18-page document.
Many words.
You can document. You can go and download it yourself.
Most of them I recognize.
On there.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these restrictions. Are there any more that apply? For performance activities, outdoor activities can continue with no restrictions. So soccer, all the children doing things outside, which now we are at the end of that, and going into more winter sports.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor one-on-one training and solo activities.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor competitions are paused except for where vaccine exemptions have been granted. Indoor group classes and activities are not permitted.
At all.
At all.
No matter if you have vaccines or not.
Indoor group classes, this is for the people who are not taking part in the. So if you have the vaccine, you're good. If you have a negative test, you're good. But if you don't have any of those, you're bad.
So if you don't have a vaccine or a negative test, you pretty much can't do it.
Yeah. The funny thing about
you
most
can
of
get
us,
your hair done.
Most of us can have had a negative test.
Within 72 hours of the appointment.
It doesn't say anything.
Oh, doesn't it, sure?
Nope. It says implement the restrictions and searching program with the vaccination or negative test result plus mandatory mask. It
Okay.
doesn't say any time restrictions.
On that negative test result.
No.
But you don't have a negative test result because they just call you.
Yeah, there's more in how to participate. Proof of vaccination or proof of privately paid negative rapid test results taken within 72 hours.
This is
or documentation of medical exemption. So I know a person who has eczema, they can't do the restrictions.
Okay, so we will just keep running with our exemptions.
Any child under the age of 12, this doesn't apply to you. Employees, contractors, repair or delivery workers, volunteers or inspectors entering the space of work for work purposes.
I think I forgot my roses in the car.
Businesses or entities that need to be accessed by the public for daily living purposes, including all retail locations. So that's you.
That's me. I'm exempt.
You are definitely
I'm exempt.
This is it?
Yeah. Okay. I am a retail location, but I'm also personal service, so it's not on the list. That is the part that I.
But you are, to be clear, she was, Mila was absolutely correct. It was the PCR, lab-based PCR test completed within the previous 72 hours. You have to pay for it, yeah? It's private. You gotta get it in.
So, just so that you guys know while we're watching this, at Aphrodisiac, we're going to keep running restrictions the way we currently have. And that's about it.
So, if you do have your thing, here are some of the things you need to know. Photos of the rapid test are not sufficient. You have to have the actual paper of it.
So, it gives you a list of what you have to check. Does it say there if the province is going to be giving me administrative dollars to for the administrative cost of this?
It does say right here. It says we're going to give you the administrative dollars.
That's what I thought.
It doesn't say anything about.
No, it doesn't. It's this deal. Go back to Guyana. Okay, so yeah, pretty much thanks for that very comprehensive read of that list, but pretty much really the question is, should businesses be the one deciding your vaccine status? I personally feel like if the province, so we'll call the state, wants to make it mandatory, then they should go ahead and do that. But I don't think that they should put it on the business to make those kinds of decisions. Personally, I also think that regardless of whether you have your vaccine or not, you should be wearing your masks. We should be doing everything that we can as businesses to make the area that you are as safe as possible. And then the last thing that I want to say is that I think that I am concerned about vaccinated people not being as safe as they need to be because they think that being vaccinated gives them some cover of protection. I'm concerned that these particular these mandates that they put out also make it seem as though you are safer if you are vaccinated, but let us please remember that you can still catch COVID, you can still give people COVID with the vaccine. That's what I have to say.
Okay. There you have it.
That's just what I think. Okay. We're a little bit frozen, I don't know why. But I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Or up there?
Up there.
Yeah, up there. On your screen.
Oh, on yours it's okay too? Yeah.
No, it's fine. Well, you locked your dead lights. I'm not sure.
Check your encoder settings. Keyframe interval is 5.21. Recommended 2. That's what's happening.
Okay. So, on to next news. Let's move over to our neighbors on the other side.
South of the border.
South of the border, the Americans.
More immigration issues. So the what has happened is that many photos of the immigration officers on south of the border in Texas, Mexico, over there, have been using whips to whip and Haitian immigrants and send them back to Mexico. I guess the Haitian immigrants fleeing the things that are going on in Haiti right now came up through Mexico to come into America for asylum, which is allowed. You're allowed to come to the border and get asylum in America, typically. But here were these border agents whipping and grabbing by the scruff and grabbing up people.
Okay. Okay. So just to put some clarity on this, from the time that I lived in Florida, what has happened is because of the Cuban crisis that they had before, any Cuban can cross. Once they touch American soil, they can have asylum. Anybody else cannot do this. So if you are Mexican, if you are Haitian, they just send you right back.
They're not supposed to, though, because it does say that if you surrender to a border crossing agent, you can then begin the process to seek asylum. In order to do that, you have to surrender to the border crossing agent.
But your particular country has to be in duress.
Yeah, but Haiti is in duress right now.
With their they're having war-torn.
Yeah, there's mad stuff happening in Haiti because the prime minister. I don't know if they have a president or prime minister in Haiti. Please feel free to let me know. They just assassinated him, so the military has controlled the country. And then in addition, they just recently had I think it was an earthquake that they just recently had. Yeah. And so they're still also dealing.
That's not
recent.
Not part of it. I think it's more of a political thing.
But
when I was in Florida,
it's happening.
Remember Ilya Gonzalez? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
So what happened was he did not touch American soil. So he was drowning, and an American, went out into the water and got him,
right,
saved his life, and brought him onto American soil. And so that's why he had to be set back, because he didn't touch American soil. So these people, these Haitians that are coming through, they're not allowing people to come through without the necessary paperwork or the circumstance happening. So they're using these whips to corral them like cattle and send them back to wherever they came from. And this has been an issue in Miami for a long time, because the Haitians definitely don't get the same sort of treatment that the Cubans did when they were coming over. Everybody else has to do the paperwork and file for a visa, and then you can come over. And once you have the visa, then you do the necessary things to get it. And Haiti is one of those places that they go for. But that's for me living in Florida. Times have changed. I haven't been living there since 2004. So maybe a lot of things have changed. But that's what it was when I was there.
Yeah. I've been very recently reading a lot about immigration in both America and Canada, and sort of more so the racist policies enshrouded. And I guess we have two different understandings of how to seek asylum in America.
Yeah. Well, it's
neither of us are lawyers, so what's that?
It's more so what's happening with this. Both of us believe that this is wrong. So, and that's the main portion. The way how they're dealing with the situation is wrong. Now, the paperwork behind that, I don't know what the paperwork is behind it, but they are usually using whips and whipping people on horseback. So they're on horseback with their cowboy hats on and their bulletproof vests, and they are literally whipping the people. It's all over the news.
Yeah, so when they were asked about it, when the I don't know the lady's name, but the redheaded lady who is now the new press secretary. I generally hate the press secretary generally. So this new press secretary was, when she was asked about it, she said that she doesn't know the context. She can't think of a context in which this would be okay, but she doesn't know the context in which it was happening. So pretty much, I guess, bullshit.
It's
More bullshit. It's really cool.
I think it's Kaylee McKinney.
Another Kaylee. Kaylee. Cool.
No, sorry, it's Jen Psaki.
Oh, Kaylee was the blonde one.
Yeah, Kaylee was
from before.
Yeah, this one's Jen. They did a press briefing by Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
The thing is, Greg, the white nation states, like, Greg is asking at what point do we hold white nation states accountable for all the stuff Haiti has gone through? Since the Haitian Revolution, the white world has been punishing Haiti ever since. Yeah, that is especially true. After the Haitian Revolution, France was like, okay, bet, you can be free, but you have to pay us X amount of billions of dollars. Millions per year and billions since the Haitian Revolution, and they have really have done this with a lot of their colonies, which is why even Ghana said recently that they were not going to be sending France cocoa anymore for their chocolate. So yeah, the thing is that I think that a lot of the Western colonial countries and the settler colonial countries need to be held accountable for immigration as a whole. I am a believer of open borders, so our thing is like off, but there's no way to fix it for me. Guys, we're a little fuzzy right now, but that's okay. We're gonna keep it moving.
This thing here falls under the what they call the wet feet, dry feet policy, which is what I was talking about, which was introduced. It went through a revision in 1995 for the Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966.
So that's specifically for Cubans, it sounds like.
That is specifically for Cubans. And so what ended up happening, because these Cubans came home, when they got their feet on soil, they were permitted and they would get an expedited legal permanent residency status. And that's what I was talking about.
That's true.
Which is different for Haitian coming citizens.
Yeah, and America did that with Cuba during the Cold War, during that whole era. And they were doing it to like piss Castro off essentially. And all that happened was that all the white Cubans who Castro's rule was pretty much not benefiting because they were the millionaires. But it was mostly the white Cubans that came over. Batista, who was right before Castro, was all about the Americans, 100%, a CIA government. And they went ahead, Fidel Castro went ahead and overthrew him. So in that whole Cuban Missile Crisis, Cold War stuff that was happening in the 60s, that is what... who's that, Nixon maybe did? That was during that whole era. I don't remember who that president was. I believe it was Nixon.
But I think 2017 is when that policy actually...
the wet foot, dry foot one?
Yeah, that was put in by Clinton. So it was actually...
the wet foot, dry foot one. Okay.
Wet foot, dry foot. It was actually after the Cold War. In the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I guess they just let Cubans come over at that time. They were just like, if you guys want to go, or maybe it was Fidel that was like, if you want to go, now's the time. And then a whole wave of white Cubans came over to America.
In 2017, they were like, okay, so it's all changed now. All right.
I'm going to say this, like, per your mom, because I don't want to leave it out. The fact is that people who are presently dying from COVID have not been vaccinated, according to the recent reports. So maybe if people take the vaccine, at least they will have some immunity. I get it. I 100% get it. This is not about being pro or anti-vaccine. It is 100% about being pro-choice. So.
Yeah, so, and I've said this many times on this show, I don't have a problem with the vaccine. I don't have a problem with people taking it. I don't have a problem. I just feel that you should have the right to choose
That's
or
all.
not choose it. You shouldn't be forced to do it by any sort of fascism
that is my concern.
or anything like that. It should be something that is a choice, what you put in your body.
Yeah.
And all the information, and I'm talking all of the information, needs to be put out there. We need to know how many people have died after getting the vaccine. We need to know how many people have got COVID after getting the vaccine.
And died from COVID even.
And died from COVID. So we need to know what the pros and cons are, because you're going to be injecting a substance that you don't really fully know what's in it. We're talking about Pfizer, we're talking about Johnson & Johnson, but do you really know everything that's in it? Now, you can get the words, and they might say it's this, but what is that doing, and how is it changing? And how is it changing your body into recognizing this virus? And can it mutate into a different strain, or can it do something? Like, a lot of people are worried about these. So to take care of these worries, to absolve people of the worries that they have, it's important for us to address them at this time. We address exactly what it is, what are people having a problem with, what is the issue, what are the functions. So I'm very pro-choice on it when it comes down to that. I'm very, very much about protecting people's right to choose whether to have a vaccine or not. Now, whether I'm going to have a vaccine, I probably will get the vaccine, probably very shortly. But whether or not, but I've done a lot of research. We put people on the show to talk about it, to give us more insight. And being more informed is what we as a Black culture are striving to have. More information, more accessibility to information, because knowledge is power. The more information you have, the better you are prepared to take over the world. And this is what it is.
Okay.
All right. You had something about Biden.
No, that's the immigration thing is what I was talking about. I wanted to say something else about the vaccine, but that's okay. Oh, also, let us not forget that Jason Kinney has gutted the hospitals and the hospital system. So when you think about our inability to handle a pandemic, instead of blaming it on people who are not vaccinated, let us blame it on the government, who has not only underpaid doctors, moving them out of the province, but who has also cut many, many hospital staff, support staff, administrators in the beginning of this pandemic and during this pandemic, and additionally rolled back what nurses are being paid and cut down nursing staff. So let us understand that the reason why our hospitals are not able to handle this pandemic has a lot to do with the government response to the hospitals and nurses. And let's also remember that female-led occupations, particularly teachers and nurses and doctors, get cut. Funds get cut to those people way before they get cut to the police. So right now we're having a police state to deal with a pandemic. What we needed to do was have extra people in school that was able to wipe stuff down so teachers can keep everything clean and still keep the class going. We needed to be able to have people to give kids hand sanitizer when they're coming out into the hallway. We needed to have extra support, and we needed to have extra support in the hospitals as well. So I don't think that forcing businesses to force their people to take vaccines or else operate at a scale back capacity is a way to overcome the fact that there have been massive cuts to the hospital system during the pandemic. So that's what I wanted to say.
There you go.
Okay, now we can move on to the screen. Ding-a-ling-ting.
Well, I went with the children to see Shang-Chi.
How was that?
Shang-Chi was actually
Many people loved it.
excellent movie.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty good. It took place with two very popular Asian characters. One by the name of Aquafina, and the other one by the name of, I can't remember his name right now, but he is Canadian and he is part of Convenience.
Oh, nice.
Actually, when you
is that Andrew Cho?
Is
Is it? I might be saying the wrong person. Oh my gosh.
it might be the old. I don't know if the older guy is Andrew Cho, but it's too clever.
I hope it's not. I'm saying the wrong person, perhaps.
Inconvenience's name is none other than Simu Liu.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm sorry, you guys. Wrong Asian person. Thought I had it, didn't have it.
Simu Liu.
Okay.
So he's on this show. If you watch Inconvenience, he would be the character called Jung, who's the brother.
Okay.
Definitely great guy. They make a lot of jokes because Inconvenience is about a Korean family. Whereas this particular guy is Chinese, but he plays a Korean person. And he even makes light of it in the movie about, why is he saying that? We're not even Korean. Which is funny because he plays the Korean character.
Nice.
Before the movie starts, he says, "Hey Canada, you may know me from this movie," and his show, and Kim Convenience pops up. He's like, "It is important that we do all the things we need to do to keep each other safe, to get all the information we need to get, blah blah blah, and so that we can go to more things, right?" And he says that, and then we go on to find out about the movie. So some things that are great, they do a lot of nods to what has previously happened, which is so excellent. Is it the thing autofocusing?
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, it's crazy.
Does this help?
No, yeah.
You have to touch it.
You should, but it's fine. We were fine. We did this for like 20 minutes. We've been like this.
Okay.
Just a second ago. We'll just get to the end now.
I don't even know what's in focus now.
I don't do that.
It's weird.
It is weird.
So, they bring back, so if you watch Iron Man, I think it's 2 or maybe 3, they bring in the character Kingsley, who plays the Mandarin.
Okay.
So they bring that character back. And he's in this one as the same character of, but then you actually meet the real Mandarin, and then you meet these guys and you find out what the rings and what they're about and the whole storyline, and it is really awesome. At the end of the movie, you got to sit there because everybody knows Marvel gives you these little Easter eggs for the next one, or what's coming up next.
Yeah.
So you find out, that he's probably going to be in the next Doctor Strange or in another Avengers movie. They bring back Bruce Banner, they bring back Captain Marvel, they bring back Wong, and they give you a little teaser as what's going to happen. So things are about to pop off. And Marvel just released the next bow and arrow movie with the bow and arrow guy.
Arrow? Green Arrow? Red Arrow.
You want to try a couple more colors there?
Don't.
Hawkeye is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay. Robin?
So it's Hawkeye, and they just released that they will be doing something with that. Plus, we're getting ready for the Spider-Man movies and Venom movies coming out. But that's what I'm at. What about yourself?
I pretty much am still watching Dirk gently. But to be honest with you, it has been hard to really watch anything in this last little while. Just keeping up with the stuff that's going on. I've been trying to like maybe do more audiobooks than I haven't watched too much Netflix. There was something that I watched recently that I was like, oh, we have to talk about this, that I cannot remember it at this time. Yeah, sorry everybody. But Dirk Gently, I'm on season 2. So.
Dirk Gently. Another He-Man came out on Netflix, which was Master of the Universe.
Oh, actually, there is a new movie that it came out, and it was already out. It's called Sankofa, and Ava from Array. What is her name? Ava DuVernay. She did not necessarily produce it, but it was a movie that existed. It's a very important movie, and now we are able to access it on Netflix. So a lot of systemic racism stuff made it unavailable to us before. So I have not yet watched that, but I will be checking it out this next week. So you guys can watch it too, and we can have a conversation.
Nice.
Yep.
In our ears.
No, it wasn't Tell Me Who I Am, Darren. We watched that last week. I hope you watched it. It was really something. So what is in our ears? So I have been listening to what I call Prosperity Doctrine, which is trap music. Mostly like Yo Gotti and like Young Jeezy. Pretty much anything that has to do with like getting money and stacking weight and hustling hard.
I took a little bit of a gander into Lil Nas X.
The album? Montero?
Apparently that album is supposed to be fire, according to a lot of people. But I wanted to hear what the hoopla it was all about.
I like that song, Montero.
So a lot of people are like, wow, this made me cry and it made me jump all at once. So people are talking about it being better than Donda and better than Champagne, whatever it was.
Certified Lover Boy.
Yeah,
that would be Certified Lover Boy.
Which I also listened to. Yeah, so there was an album that I had started listening to, but I'll come back to it. So I'll mention that.
Montero. I will watch it. I will listen to it this next week. I appreciate Lil Nas X for his creativity, and there's been a lot of other celebrities, a lot of other rappers coming out now that are like, how do you not find this guy hilarious? Because the stuff that he does, he's just like a troll and trolling people, and he's just like a young guy like trying to be funny. So I can't remember which rapper it was, but he was like, no, sorry, this guy is hilarious. Before we move on to the word, I just wanted to give a couple quick RIPs. There's a comedian that just passed away who was from Friday. What was his name? Mad disrespectful that I don't remember this guy's name. I don't have it in front of me on an RIP. But
he did pass. A lot of people have been posting a lot of things about him.
Anthony Johnson. Thank you so much, Darren.
Yes,
so RIP to his family, and then of course a local legend is gone. So Neville, aka Neville the Barber, has passed away this last week. So definitely heart goes out to his family, love and life.
And I was at a funeral. That was one of the things that I did this week, which was actually today. I just went to a funeral, RIP to George Ferguson, who died, left behind 8 children. And while I was there, I saw a guy that I saw at a funeral that I did just a few months ago. And he was there. He goes, hey man, we're back here for another one. I said, And he's like, yeah, we got more coming up. You heard about Neville? I was like, yes, Neville's next, yes. So we're all just like, see you later, man. Like, it's light. I'm making light of it, but it is heavy because a lot of people are.
We've lost a lot of people in this summer. Yeah,
we're losing a lot of people, and it is something. There's another comedian who passed as well. There's another comedian.
AJ Johnson. Who is Anthony Johnson?
No, not Anthony Johnson. There's another comedian that passed. I'll mention next week.
Okay.
RIP to all the people who have lost loved ones. And
Norm Macdonald.
Hmm?
It was Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
Canadian Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald.
Also, just love and light to his family as well. Yeah. He was he's a classic dude. Like,
he's a Canadian classic.
Yeah. If you're into comedy, I think I'm into comedy. I think in another timeline I write and do comedy and probably do comedic writing for TV type stuff. I enjoy that stuff. So
the funny thing about comedy, and I was even mentioning this with my mom, like some of the stuff I grew up with are some of the things that influenced me now. So my dad used to come home with a Sunday paper, and inside that was the comic strip. Now I write the comic strip for Melanistic Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these are influenced because I used to be super excited to get that Sunday comic from my dad. Also, Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald had a movie. Tim and I used to watch this movie all the time. And one of the classic bits that he had on there was there would be a guy sitting down and going into a backstory. He's like, why did you do that? And he's like a beggar. It was usually a guy, can I have $2? And he's like, why are you even here? And the guy's like, well, it all started, and all the dramatic music comes in and zooms into the guy. Everything, he's like, it all started a long time ago. And then the guy's like, here's your $2. Like, totally interrupts him, doesn't care about his story, just tosses him $2 and walks away. So randomly, Tim and I, we do that to each other when we start to drift off into a story. And I'm like, here's your $2. But yeah, walk away, which is epically epic.
Epically epic.
Epically epic.
Love it.
Okay.
All right, so
The word.
The word. Do you have a word this week?
I do have a word this week.
Can you get it?
My word this week is you don't have to really prove anything to anybody. You already got it. And this word was given to me on Sunday by a famous preacher from the city. And he's like, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And sometimes we put things into play and we walk away from them. A good example of this is a few years ago I got really, really sick. My mom was like, you should pray about it. And I was like, no. I don't need my soul to be healed. I need my physical body to be healed. I don't need to go to the Bible. But even though she said that, I found the scripture about something about hyssop, which is a plant that grows. And hyssop grows in 85% of the world's population and heals a ton of different things, from headache to all types of things. Headache, cancer, it's been known to heal a lot of these things. So I got this hyssop plant, I finally tracked it down, and it was in my local, it was like really close to me, my local greenhouse area, and the coolness. And I went and picked up this plant, and didn't know anything about it, didn't research the plant, didn't do anything, just dug a hole in the backyard next to the house and planted this thing in the shade, not realizing that that's where it thrives. Like some plants do not like dirt, but some like to get burnt.
Mm-hmm.
This one loved it in that shade and flourished and became big and beautiful. The funny thing about it is I put it there, but forgot all about it. I planted it, and I went about my business. I barely even watered it. In fact, I was like to the kids, I was like, hey, you guys go out there and water it. And they would go out and they would water. And then I'm not even thinking about it. Then one day I went into the backyard. I'm talking months later. I went into the backyard, and this bush was humongous. It was like a little plant, and it was humongous. And that is how seedlings and how replanting into ourselves works. It works very much so. It works where we plant things in, and sometimes we forget about it and we walk away, but it's still thriving in, we put it into the perfect environment to thrive. Whether you want to do podcasting or your own show or your own thing, or you want to make products, or you want to get into whatever it is you want to get into, a lot of times you've already planted the seeds and it's grown. You're just not there. You're not seeing it grow. And if you just take a look back into what you started, you will realize that it is growing out of control. And you've got all this flourishing, good foliage.
Okay.
And that's what's up.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this week, another week of the Black Multiverse Theory podcast.
Shalom, baby.
What's happening? We will see you again next week.
When will I see you again?